The single leg deadlift is a quite self-explanatory exercise. It's a deadlift that you do on one leg. But it's not just a strength exercise, it's also a huge balance exercise, and it can be one of the more advanced exercises that you can do with kettlebells at home. I love this exercise because while it works on strength, it also works on balance, and you don't need a lot of weight. So today I'm going to go through a few progressions to start from just using your body weight through using your kettlebells, 1, 2, and also a wall. So let's get going, and this is going to give you a good base introduction to what the single leg deadlift entails. First of all, our normal deadlift is a hip hinge, meaning our hips are going back, both of our feet are planted about hips width apart, whatever your deadlift stance is, and you bend your knees enough to facilitate those hips going back. There is quite a bit of knee bend in a traditional deadlift, and those hips go back, and my shoulders are above my hips are above my knees. Now when we do a single leg deadlift, it can mimic more of a Romanian or stiff leg deadlift, where our knees don't bend as much and our shoulders come down farther, almost in line with those hips. That can be a goal of your single leg deadlift. So I'll just show you what the exercise looks like, and then we'll work back from there. So you start out with a kettlebell next to your foot. We get it in one hand, square off our shoulders, square off our hips, core is engaged, and you see my torso is coming really far down as my leg goes up. So that's what the exercise looks like. You'll notice mine's a little bit shaky because I haven't done any prep work to get into it. So we're going to go over what that prep work can look like. First, you can work on a single leg deadlift with just your body weight. So the most important thing to remember is when we're loading the body, if there's a kettlebell in one or both hands and only one leg's down, it's going to be really hard to keep the core engaged. So what I want you to do is take a hand on the belly and the lower back. Big inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Ribs depress into the abdomen. They go down towards the hips. My pelvis is neutral. I squeeze my ab wall. I squeeze my glutes, and now my core is on. Now I want to get both of my feet pretty close together because I need to be balanced over the middle of that foot that's on the floor. I'm going to lift up one leg. You can just stick it out like a flamingo. And then with your hands on your hips, core engaged, still squeezing both glutes, keep your shoulders square and your hips square as you lean forward over that leg and then stand up. Inhale down, exhale up. Can be really helpful to pick a point on the wall that you'll gaze at. I'm a little close to my wall here, so it's hard, but a point maybe 5 to 6 feet in front of you, either on the wall or a little farther away on the floor. And here from the front, you'll see what it looks like to try to keep those shoulders and hips square. So as I hinge, they're staying nice and level. What we're trying to avoid happening is tilting towards one side and opening, or tilting towards the other, or just in general allowing the spine to flex around like this. Right? We don't want that to happen. So you've got to make sure you do bend that front knee to help facilitate your torso shifting over the leg. So once you've done that, you'd say work on that 10 reps on each leg for a few sets. If you're brand new to the single leg deadlift, that's going to be a good starting place. You don't even need to pick up weight. You can hold a rod going from your head to your tailbone and practice holding that in place. Or you can move on to some weight. So the first thing I do when I teach the single leg deadlift is I have you start with one weight. I'm using a kettlebell. If you only have dumbbells, you could hold a dumbbell. You're going to start in this kickstand position, meaning the back foot is up on the ball. I've replaced one foot with my kettlebell here. Actually, I'll switch sides so it's easier to see. You engage the core, big exhale, ribs down towards the hips, squeeze the glutes, squeeze the abs, hinge. Grab my kettlebell, and before I even take off, I don't want to be leaning down and have this shoulder pulled out of the socket. Pack your lat, engage that shoulder, square them off, square the hips, stand up, and now you're going to lift up the leg that is going back and you bend your front leg and try to get your torso as low as you can, and then stand up. And try to prevent that back hip from floating open. And try to avoid looking down as well, because then we'll start getting that spine rounding and flexion. You want to keep a nice tight core, long neck. Your feet aren't going anywhere, and work on those. So this single-sided, single leg deadlift where the weight's only on one side is going to be easier if the weight replaces the foot that's going back. It's kind of like a counterbalance. If you're going to move it to the other side, it's going to be a lot harder. You're going to have this tendency to lean, really open yourself up, and we want to avoid that. If you're having a hard time keeping this leg from opening, we keep that knee bent and think of squeezing the glutes together, squeezing them together here, keeping this leg down, and keeping the hips square, as opposed to maybe you can straighten the leg, it's a little harder, but having this happen. We don't want that hip to open. So this is how we're gonna start with one bell. Low reps at first. You can work your way up. You really don't need a heavy weight. I mean, this is a 26-pound weight. I'm pretty strong, and that was challenging for me today. So before you grab two weights, you can actually work on just improving your single leg strength and balance by taking this all to a wall. So what we're gonna do here is have our kettlebell replacing the foot yet again. And now maybe I would have gone up in weight. You can also do this with two weights. But we're gonna put our back foot on the wall behind us. Now, you can see that when I'm upright, if I just bend my knee rather, wherever my foot lands, that's a good spot. I'm not up too high, just above the floorboard, the baseboard here. And if I was a little closer, this knee would be coming in front of the back leg. You want those feet lined up. You want wherever you pick to be able to bend the leg and have it contact the wall. So from here, once again, we replace the back foot with the kettlebell. Engage the core, hinge down, make sure you still bend that knee, and you might need to scoot up a little bit. You might find that you're too close to the wall. Pick up the kettlebell and hinge. You're going to really feel the outer glute on the grounded leg firing like crazy as you hinge over that leg. Inhale down, exhale up. So now this is a good chance to try bringing in both kettlebells to increase the weight. They can match, or they can be two different weights, whatever you have available. If you have two different weights, heavier weight replaces the back leg. Lighter weight goes on the outside. Whichever combination you pick, you're gonna really notice that this glute is firing like crazy. It's really working very hard. Don't be surprised if you're super sore after this variation. That back leg is working to help us balance. Just standing here, you'll really feel how sturdy you are. That wall is providing feedback. It's gonna keep you from having to, if you really feel like, wow, I wobble and I can't get my balance and I can't stay upright, my leg is flying around when I'm doing those single leg deadlifts, this is the variation for you. You get all the benefits of a single leg exercise with all the help of having your back leg supported. So now we hinge, we grab those two kettlebells, square off the shoulders, engage the core, stand up. Inhale as you go down and send that hip far back. Exhale as you come up. Keep the core super engaged on your way down and come up. This is another one. We can stay low rep, moderate weight, and then you'll have a lot of room to improve, a lot of room to work and increase your work capacity without even needing any heavier weight. So finally, we want to see how to do a double bell single leg deadlift. It's the same thing, but you've just got to work even harder not to let the back round, lose control of the back, and possibly compromise the upper or lower spine. So once again, we start in our kickstand deadlift because it's going to be really hard to pick them up from the floor with your leg up. So we start in that kickstand position. Engage the core, hips back. Grab both kettlebells, gaze in front of you. You don't want to look down because right here, I have lost control of my spine, My upper back is now compromised. So you want a nice long neutral spine, core is engaged, pick them up. Lift out the leg, make sure my core and glutes are still firing. And then with control, this is a good one to do slow. Hinge down and stand up. Inhale down, exhale up. And again, that back leg, you can keep the knee bent, or if you want more of a challenge, you can try to straighten that leg out. It's going to take more work to keep it straight. It's going to be a bigger hamstring stretch on the grounded leg, but the hip's going to have a tendency to float open, so you've got to work against it. My advice is as you go heavier, keep the knee bent and that leg tucked, because it's going to help keep your hips tight and help save your lower back. I hope this video was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions about the single leg deadlift.